Welcome everyone. On behalf of Department of Aeronautical Engineering, I welcome our today's resource person, Dr. Bruce, sir. We welcome you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I may request Ms. Diksha Sambyal to give the brief introduction about our today's resource person. Over to Diksha.
A pleasant morning for all that are present here. Believe and you're halfway there to success. We have a successful person here with us today, Dr. J. Bruce Ralphin Rose, who is a faculty of Aeronautical Engineering Department at Anna University Regional Campus. He was awarded a PhD degree in the field of aerodynamics by Anna University in the year of 2014. He has published more than 15 leading journal articles in the aerospace engineering journals. He is the editor of the Journal of Aircraft and Space Technology under Science Publications. He has also published several book chapters in the Bioinspired Aerodynamics perspective for various applications. He has completed 2 major funded projects sponsored by the Department of Biotechnology and Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology. He is a technical consultant for Butos Aerobotics Corporation, New Delhi, who is the OEM company for drones and Sullivan Wind Energy Limited. He is an Anna University recognized research supervisor and guided 6 PhD scholars and 101 PG scholars till date in the aerodynamics and aeroelastic domains. Dr. Bruce's bioinspired aerodynamic-centric research has been continuously supported by the Government of Tamil Nadu and Department of Biotechnology with all the required resources. He was awarded as Outstanding Reviewer by Elsevier Publications during 2015 and delivered more than 100 expert talks across the country to raise the nation aerospace potential to next level. A warm welcome, sir. We are grateful to have you here with us. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the excellent introduction. Actually, my session, it was scheduled by tomorrow. Unfortunately, due to some reasons, they have preponed it now. No issues. Let us start the session now. Someone please.
Yes, sir. It's
visible.
Your screen is visible.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, my presentation is going to be confined within the aerospace perspective because most of my research contributions talk about bioinspired designs, how those designs can be utilized for aerospace applications particularly. And other side regarding the materials and characterization for each specific case like birds, insects, plants, aquatic animals, I will give maybe 1 or 2 examples. That is how the such bioinspired designs can be materialized through novel manufacturing strategies and how it can be characterized. Okay, so I will give 1 or 2 examples and I'll tell you different resources to further exploration into this large domain. Okay, so first let me introduce the concept of bioinspired design. You know, basically it is the field of bionics develops from the multidimensional interaction. That's why it is a multidisciplinary subject. You cannot learn all the bio-inspired things from a single text or reference books. You have to listen to as many guest lectures and you have to refer so many resources from various disciplines so that only you can construct a bio-inspired design. So it is a multidimensional interaction between engineered materials and biological entities to address human needs. So the degrees of interaction and levels of achievement in bionic organs and devices are illustrated here. You just see the bottom-up approach here, that is between biotic and abiotic systems. And you are very familiar with the DNA structure and system in the biotic systems, and in proportion to that, we have developed carbon nanomaterials. Then microorganisms, in proportion to that, in the abiotic system, micro electrode arrays. Then cells. Here we have cells, their circuits and chips, and here we have organs. There we will have the materials and composites to perform the same function. Almost we are in the end of even the cloud technology. Okay, so we are now moving towards AI and data science. So, you know, most of the institutions also now talking about artificial intelligence and data science. So it is evolved from DNA to now it is moving toward AI. That is how the nature-inspired things can be realized through the advanced manufacturing strategies with the available materials, and how the bio-inspired designs can be realized for various applications. In that way, we are traveling now. So I would like to give some significant differences between biological and abiotic engineered systems. In the biological systems, basically the materials are grown into whole organism via self-assembly. So it is guided by the principles of developmental biology, you know, and in the abiotic systems, it is either it is mechanical or electronic or electrical systems are fabricated from selected materials based on secured engineering design and considering the extreme conditions. So I'll in the course of progress in this particular presentation itself, I'll tell you how these considering the extreme conditions will influence your abiotic engineered systems which are not able to perform on par with the biological systems. Okay. Then as a consequence, biological systems are in general able to reconfigure and adapt to environmental changes. So I can give you one simple example in this context. If you consider the Lotus effect, that is, you know, the hydrophobicity, super hydrophobicity of lotus leaves, water droplets simply roll off from the surface, you know. So the reason is simply we can call it as a lotus effect. And once you rub your hand, okay, on the lotus leaf, then what happens for some period of time, its super hydrophobicity will be affected. That means before rubbing your hand, you observe that the water droplets simply roll off from the surface. But once you repeatedly rub it over and over again, what will happen? It becomes a little bit hydrophilic in nature. And once you leave the surface just like that for about some 5 or 10 minutes, it regains, it reconfigure its initial size and shape so that the initial texture is retained. That's what reconfigure and adapt to environmental changes. This is one of the challenging aspects in the abiotic engineered systems. If you are able to manufacture, even if you are able to replicate the lotus surface texture in a specimen or coating, in the same fashion, if you rub it, what happens? It won't reconfigure itself. Okay, so it remains. Whatever the changes we made on the particular surface in the abiotic engineered system, it remains. So that is the way it differs. So it is necessary to go ahead with some shape memory alloys or any other advanced materials to make more efficient system that is able to perform on par with biological systems. Okay, so And this biologically controlled self-assembly driven growth takes place near room temperature and atmospheric pressure under common physiological conditions, Whereas the design of high quality electronic materials is highly impacted by mechanical deficiencies. Okay, so the in the biological systems, most of the fibers or most of the organics such as skin. Okay, if you refer and if you consider the Young's modulus of those materials, it varies between zero point 0.1 to 1 megapascal. Whereas in the electronic systems, electronic materials, what we usually uh, fabricate based on the Bioinspired designs, it goes in the range of 1 to 100 gigapascals. So what happens is these mechanical deficiencies will enable certain issues, maybe in terms of fatigue failure or in terms of wear resistant. Some specific characteristics of biological systems will not be replicated in the abiotic engineering systems. So, in the context of manufacturing, in the context of application, there is a lot more things to explore, a lot more things to learn, and to be customized in order to make these abiotic engineered systems to perform on par with biological systems. Okay, that is the motivation behind this presentation, to emphasize how we can minimize those disparities, and how we can reduce those disparities to enhance the performance of abiotics engineered systems. Okay. Now, these limitations arise from the considerable disparity in mechanical properties between these disparities not only arise with mechanical properties. You should know that it will influence electrically. If you talk about the conductivity, and if you talk about temperature, it will influence the thermodynamic properties also. That's why in the beginning itself I have mentioned, I would like to restrict my presentation within the aerospace applications with mechanical perspective. Okay. Now, any bioinspired design is basically obtained through biomimetic inferences. Sorry. So generally obtained from the following, that is plants, insects, bats, and aquatic animals. So, based on the inferences, we can develop and characterize the bioinspired structures, bioinspired morphing, and the concept of aerodynamic morphing. Now it is evolving in a different dimension, particularly for the next generation airplanes. And the bioinspired nanostructures, bioinspired intelligent structures, the novel bioinspired device concepts, and these the outcomes of all these things will help you to arrive different bioinspired structures for engineering design and realize new design opportunities. So, use of biostructures for engineering design will enable better flow control, noise reduction characteristics, and particularly from the aerodynamics perspective, you can achieve stall delay, wettability, and self-cleaning characteristics. So if you are able to achieve significant stall delay and hydrophobic characteristics on a lifting surface, it is easy for you to perform drag reduction, and consequently your specific fuel consumption decreases. And once the drag reduction is achieved, we can cruise at higher speeds, and as a result, the CO2 emission also substantially decreases. Now, in the context of bioinspired materials, this is what I mentioned, your bioinspiration. From the bioinspiration bioinspired designs, there is the biomimetic designs. We can go ahead with bioinspired materials. From the bioinspired materials, we can design and customize various mechanisms which are useful for specific engineering applications. Then we have to identify the cost-effective manufacturing strategies. Then accordingly we can customize the applications. Nowadays we have variety of advanced manufacturing techniques, the 3D printing, electrospinning, freeze casting, and so on. Okay, and based on the cost effective nature of the manufacturing process, it can be adopted for unique applications. For example, in terms of aerospace, we don't bother much about the cost, whereas in terms of civil and basic mechanical applications, cost effectiveness is the most important thing. So we have to customize the manufacturing process accordingly. And always the accuracy comes with the cost. Okay, so if you want to have extreme accuracy, particularly for the medical applications, for example, the bioinspired designs can be utilized for medical implants and all those different major surgeries and all. So for those things, you have to customize the precise manufacturing process, so that obviously the cost increases. Okay, so anyhow, as I mentioned, the biotic and abiotic systems should perform in a equivalent fashion. That is the ultimate aim. Okay, so that is the ultimate aim behind the bioinspiration concepts. So wherever it is lacking in terms of performance or in terms of manufacturing difficulties, we have to overcome all those things in order to achieve novel structured materials for a particular application. Okay, and generally the development of bioinspired materials involves activities revealing the design principles from nature, and it form the basis of novel structured materials that are fabricated to address certain engineering problems. So it starts with discovering the unique, interesting phenomena of the biological systems. So how the unique, interesting phenomena of the biological system can be identified. It is through a detailed scientific analysis. Okay, so for example, if you want to study the propulsive characteristics of a fish, how the flapping motion of its tail creating the propulsion motion. So it can be identified through the flapping wing concepts, through extensive scientific analysis and the fundamental mechanisms underlying these phenomena. So based on that, it should be systemized, theorized, and correlating the needs of the relevant engineering application. That is also another important thing. So through extensive scientific analysis and the systemized phenomena, that is systemized phenomena with the fundamental mechanisms, then relevant engineering applications. In that way, the unique, interesting phenomena of behind the bioinspired species can be adopted for specific applications. And once the natural principles are employed to a particular design and fabrication process, we have to perform some specific analysis, either the computational analysis or experimental analysis or both. Okay, so whether the targeted mechanical or functional properties are obtained in a particular design, and whether the challenges are addressed with highly sophisticated fabrication instruments. Because, for example, if you want to characterize the different structural behaviors behind the spider web, the observation itself very difficult. Okay, or if you want to characterize the aerodynamic behavior of a honeybee or any other insect, the observation itself very difficult. So that's what I would like to say, the the term highly sophisticated fabrication instruments, highly sophisticated observing systems. All those things are essential even for a small scale laboratory synthesis process. Okay. So once you are able to obtain numerous valuable insights, it will obviously boost your innovation, and a variety of applications also increase. That is like the applications can be extended further towards marine transportation and different medical applications also. Okay. Now, from the that is as I mentioned, there are 4 different categories for the bioinspired designs: plants, birds, insects, and aquatic animals. I would like to start with the plants. Okay, from the uh, Bioinspired designs behind these plants, 4 different species I would like to emphasize here: super hydrophobic surfaces, lubricated surfaces, grooved circumference, and winged seeds. In this super hydrophobic surfaces context, super wettability is an essential phenomenon here. Okay, so first the surfaces and structures with super wettability are found throughout the nature. Can say many examples: rose petals, lotus leaves, shark skin, and the exoskeletons of desert beetles and cactus spines. All those things are the typical examples for super wettability characteristic. These structures employ super wettability to fulfill essential functions, so including the external barrier and the directional liquid transport. I'll explain how the directional liquid transport is obtained in the cactus spines. In terms of man-made materials, the research on functional surfaces with specific wettability has made amazing progress, particularly over the last few decades. The man-made materials and research on functional surfaces have delivered excellent outcomes, particularly these development of hydrophobic surfaces, particularly the super hydrophobic surfaces inspired from the bioinspired things. Particularly if you see the rice leaf, Oryza sativa, butterfly wing, you can observe here there is micro grooves. Okay, and these micro grooves enable the super hydrophobic nature. And what happens is, from the fundamental viewpoint, this super wettability of a surface can be achieved by physical structure or chemical constituents of the surface. So if you consider the shark skin, there is a mucus layer. If you observe the grooves or the surface texture and you are able to fabricate the thing, it is easy for you to achieve certain degree of super hydrophobicity. But however, the mucus layer, particularly the biological matter, it is very difficult to develop. So now the advanced manufacturing techniques give you that flexibility also through a wax coating strategy. So over these grooved patterns, we can have a wax coatings to achieve the same characteristics of mucus layer present in the shark skin and other different aquatic species. So thereby we can achieve better nature-inspired characteristics. Okay, so that is in a man-made thing, we can achieve better nature-inspired characteristics, and it provides a rich source of inspiration to develop bio-inspired textured structures with specific wettability. That is the thing. Here you can observe another one. It is called Salvini Effect. Here it is the biomimetic Salvini surfaces are used for drag reduction coatings, and it can be successfully fabricated with Eggbeater-like structure, which is inspired by the structure of Salvini molstra by a 3-dimensional printing technique. Okay. here you can observe the 3D printing technology can replicate the complex structures of natural materials at a finer scale, which provides a prerequisite for the successful preparation of bioinspired materials. So this Salvini effect, even it is capable to separate water and oil. You can observe here it is in this illustration. Over the period of time, what happens is here we can separate oil and water. Okay. So the Salvini effect describes the permanent stabilization of an air layer upon a higher structured surface submerged in water. Okay, and the Salvini effect it was identified in the year of 2005 itself, and several patents have been filed from 2006 to 2016. Okay, so the Eggbeater structure means this is the Eggbeater structure. Okay, this Eggbeater structure made with a hydrophilic photocurable material. It shows remarkable super hydrophobic properties and water adhesion. Okay, it is a in the right side you can observe the SEM images and the wax layer. That is, this surface is super hydrophilic and this is hydrophobic, and you can observe the wax crystals here on this particular Salvini surfaces. You can observe in this region other maximum here, and here you can observe the wax crystals here. Okay, it is what already I have mentioned about this mucus layer in the shark skin. It is something similar to that. These wax crystals can be developed with simple manual process also. Therefore, what happens is this Salvini inspired structure was further applied to separate oil from water with efficient removal of oil. Okay, within 6 seconds you can see that over the successive time steps what happens in this Eggbeater like surface. And let us move on to this shark skin effect. However, I will give some more deeper insights about this shark skin effect when I discuss about these aquatic animals and their application for drag reduction mechanism. This shark skin effect, you can observe a typical riblet like structure on this on its skin. Okay, in the shark skin this riblet like structure is there. It is known as dermal denticles, whereas in the case of normal fishes you can observe the fish scales, simple fish scales, that is like a rainbow trout. Okay, so this fish scales, what is the role of this fish scale is it adds to the flow basically. Okay, so what happens a smooth surface, for example, if the flow rate earlier, the surface with these tiny fish scales, it energizes flow velocity, and what happens, the flow submission can be substantially delayed, particularly in the case of lower Nernst number flows. So therefore it has extensive applications in the case of drag reduction. In the context of drag reduction, it can be employed for various UAV applications, and even for low speed aerodynamic applications also, as long as the incompressible flow is. And if you in the context of compressible flows, even none of the studies reported till date about this application of fish scales on the aerodynamic surfaces. Maybe if you incorporate these fish scales for compressible flows, or even for supersonic cases, some striking results can be obtained. Okay, so it is a new emerging area. Only one or two papers have been published by different European universities, and I'll I would like to summarize certain key inferences from this discussion here now. The rice leaves are found to have sinusoidal grooves pattern surface. As I have mentioned here, you just observe these are the sinusoidal grooves here. Okay, so these sinusoidal grooves the cylindrically tapered macropeplae superimposed by wax nanopumps create hierarchical structures. These nanopumps are expected to be formed by self-assembly of the epicuticular wax as reported in the case of the lotus leaf. Okay, so the same characteristics can be observed in the butterfly wings also. Butterfly wings consist of aligned shingle-like scales with aligned microgrooves oriented radially. And in a little bit large scale, the fish skin comprised of oriented scales with concentric rings, and the shark skin comprised of oriented diamond-shaped dermal tentacles. So this little skin teeth-like arrangement offers the boundary layer drag reduction significantly at lower mass numbers. And if you are able to customize it for even the transition flows or urban flows, maybe more fruitful results can be obtained. Okay, so the difficulties are there, but if you are able to overcome it through unique manufacturing processes, definitely services and can be utilized for better drag reduction applications. And the same images I would like to present it in the perspective of materials and characterization. The rice leaf same image, here you can observe at 10 micrometer there are some spikes and valleys here, and if you consider the 2 micrometer case, it can be better visible. So in this way, significant hydrophobicity can be obtained. Once significant hydrophobicity is ensured, obviously we can achieve self-cleaning property, we can achieve significant drag reduction, particularly in the case of ship. Okay, the skulls and the different ship surfaces, if you are able to provide this kind of texture, hydrodynamic drag can be substantially reduced. On the other hand, if you observe the butterfly wing at 100 micrometer scale and micrometer scale, here you can observe tiny grooves. Okay, so it enables significant wettability and significant hydrophobic characteristics. Okay, these are the fish scales and the shark skin. Okay, so particularly I can focus on this cactus spine. Here you can observe in the cactus spine the arid environment. Basically, these cactus spines are in arid environment, and these cactus spines decreases a little bit, and these are called belt structured trichomes. What happens is these three parts create a gradient in the Laplace pressure and a gradient in the surface free energy, therefore enabling the droplet to move towards a desired direction for collection so as to nourish the cactus. Okay, so you just see the gradient here at t is equal to 0 second. What happens is in this oriented bobs, as I mentioned, some significant roughness is there. So what happens? The water droplet comes down here, and here in the gradient grooves, some significant roughness reduction is there. So the surface free energy enables the droplet to move further, and once it reaches the belt structure trichomes, what happens? It is collected to nourish the cactus. Okay, so even in this surface, in the cactus that is below the cactus, the microscopic applications have revealed the a structured grooved path. Okay, that in such a way that the water droplet can be collected in a regular fashion and nourish the plants evenly. Okay. So specifically, the droplets on the surface of cactus spine are usually driven to the side with a larger radius due to the gradient of Laplace pressure, and the micro grooves on the spine are sparser at the base. Okay, so less rough and at the tip it's more rough. So and this gradient roughness produces a gradient surface free energy, which generates the driving force to drive the water droplet toward the base of the spine. That is the thing, and you can see a simple experiment also here. It is developed based on the bioinspiration of the water collection principle of cacti. It is designed with bioinspired water collector with dual gradients. You can observe cathode and anode here, and gradient electrochemical corrosion and gradient chemical modification. Okay, gradient electrochemical corrosion and gradient chemical modification processes are involved. The artificial cactus spine, here you can observe it collects water, and it is reported that the water drops at a relatively high speed of about 2.08 microliter per second. Water drops collected with this cactus spine 2.08 microliter per second, and it transport it quickly with a velocity around 20.5 micrometer per second. Okay, you can observe it is soft lithography molding procedure is a famous technique. So in this, this is the actual sample, and over this actual sample, silicone rubber is poured, and after curing, remove the negative from the actual sample so that your negative molding, that is your silicone rubber negative molding, is prepared, and pour urethane polymer over it. So after curing, remove the positive from the negative so that the positive molding urethane polymer is obtained. So this is a two-step lithography molding procedure to prepare the bioinspired structures in a macroscopic scale. That is very important. For a microscopic scale with wax layer to replicate the mucus component and all those things, it is a little bit complicated. Maybe you can go ahead with the spray coating technique or any other dip coating or any other mechanism to incorporate the fine details, or that is minor details with these mold materials. Okay. So lithography molding is utilized for macroscopic bioinspired replication. Okay. And these coated sample images, here you can observe Lotus Effect coated samples. This is the same image of a rice leaf. This is a coated replica sample. Similarly, this is the star skin. This is star skin with mucus layer that is created artificially. Okay. So so many other manufacturing strategies are there to achieve this coatings. Spray pyrolysis, CVD, chemical vapor deposition, all those things are there. However, all those things are beyond the scope of our discussion now. If you are really interested, maybe I don't know how many of the participants are working with all these surface coating strategies, and how many of them are doing PhD or working with all these things. So if you are really interested, you can go ahead with unique surface preparation techniques like CVD, spray pyrolysis, and all. And nowadays, extensive facilities are available even within our state to prepare all these kind of specimens. Okay, and the self-cleaning characteristics can be studied through these wash experimentation assemblies. Here you can observe a silicon particle contamination strategy. Here, two halves of the apparatus assembled to create the chamber where silicon carbide particles are dispersed with laboratory air in the top chamber. Here, the silicon carbide particles are there. And once the separator door is opened, what happens is the particles are allowed to settle on the replica samples. Okay, here it will be settled. And once the water droplets at known velocities with the flow rate, known flow rate are impacted on the contaminated sample, you can observe how the replica sample exhibit the self-cleaning characteristics. You can study that. It is something similar to the corrosion experiment. Okay. Now, the semi-image characterization, and whether you prepare the specimen with real bioinspired characteristic or it is having some preparation defects and all. If you are able to characterize it properly, physical characterization of surface structure with from actual sample, it is sufficient to ensure the accuracy of the process. Okay. So, in the rice leaf, the sinusoidal grooves array covered with micropapillae and nanopumps. This is the observation in such a way that you have to observe the grooves and micropapillae. In the Z dimension, it is varying from 125 to 150 micrometers, the dimension of grooves, and micropapillae 2 to 4 micrometer, and X dimension and Y dimension. So similarly for butterfly wing scales, shark skin. So in the butterfly wing, shingle-like scales. In the fish scales, overlapping hinged scales. Shark skin, overlapping dermal denticles. So from the SEM images, what is the essential part we have to consider? What is the physical characterization? And once you are able to identify the exact information needed, then we can customize the appropriate manufacturing process. Okay, so that is the way it works. So, and if you consider the water repellent characteristics of these different samples, for this leaf, here you can observe the grooves. So it is anisotropic longitudinal flow. It enables anisotropic longitudinal papilla, super hydrophobicity, and low adhesion. So the contribution of grooves entirely different, papilla entirely different. And if you consider the butterfly wing, here the scales are there. The scales enable anisotropic longitudinal flow. And again, here grooves, super hydrophobicity, and low adhesion, because in the butterfly wing, the dimension of the grooves very less. You can observe micro grooves. Here it is 1 to 2 micrometer. Okay, so these micro grooves enable super hydrophobicity and low adhesion. And it is particularly in the case of moisture environment. If you perform some experimental analysis in the moisture environment, the preparation of so and in this case, here you can observe scales and mucus. Scales establish anisotropic longitudinal flow, whereas the mucus layer establish hydrophilicity and low adhesion. Okay, so it is hydrophilic in nature, you know that. And in the case of shark skin, the dermal denticles are like riblets. Okay, so these riblets enable pin vortices, and the mucus layer similar to fish scales, hydrophobicity and low adhesion. These riblets are very important because it is already implemented for aerospace applications. Here you can observe the Lufthansa cargo plane, it is already equipped with shark skin technology. And what is the outcome? You should know that this is called shark skin technology implemented in the Frankfurt to Shanghai. So this is the application of riblet-like arrangement, and that is observed through the shark skin Bioinspired Design. Go through these references once you find some time. So here you just see the riblet design, sawtooth design, riblet configuration is continuous, and it can be prepared with polymer material, and the turbulent drag reduction is 8%. But the fluid here you can observe it is water. That's what I have mentioned already. For ships, hovercrafts like sea carrier like arrangements, you can use this design, because its hydrodynamic efficiency is already ensured actually. Okay, so that you can utilize it for hydrodynamic applications as of now. For compressible and high speed flows, it has to be validated and it needs further studies of. Okay, so riblet design, here you can see sawtooth, it is riblet configuration continuous, and the riblet material is vinyl. So maximum turbulent drag reduction 9. Okay. So this material is like film coating. Okay. Either you can prepare it and place it on a required aerodynamic surface, or you can inherently develop it in the course of the manufacturing process itself. Okay, through some unique coating strategies. And if you consider the working fluid is oil, the suitable riblet design is blade, sawtooth and scalloped. Riblet configuration is continuous. Riblet material brass and plexiglass. So it is maximum drag reduction 9.9%. And other literatures you just refer it. I would like to focus on air, the working fluid that is for aerospace applications. The riblet design is blade, that is this one, the first design. Here you can see this is the design. Okay, riblet design is blade and configuration is continuous, and the outcome is 8.5% turbulent drag reduction, and metal and polymer. Riblet material can be metal and polymer. And for sawtooth scalloped bullnose riblet design configuration, it is continuous, and aluminum and vinyl can be used with the 8% drag reduction. And here you can observe most of the references almost I have mentioned here is some 10 years old. Okay, so there are so many research works established in these past 10 years with significant progress and implementation towards aerospace applications. So once you are, if you are really interested towards bio-inspired aerodynamic design and material-based optimization, you have to refer the most recent articles. Okay, so that you can share alloys, nanomaterials. I hope some few lectures already have been completed in the nanomaterial side also, a little bit enriched with nanomaterial knowledge also. So you can you can consider all those new novel materials for the bioinspired applications of bioinspired applications towards aerospace industry. Okay. Now let me move on to the insects. How the bioinspired designs can be developed through the observation of insects. Okay. If you consider the insect's flight, there are so many things to observe: kinematics, aerodynamics, flight dynamics, flight stabilization, musculoskeletal mechanics, sensor emitter, neurobiology, all those things are there. But in terms of materials, it's very difficult to observe, first of all. For example, if you want to observe a bee, or if you want to observe a Drosophila, it is, first of all, you have to collect some unique samples, and you have to observe it through some microscope or any unique mechanism, and you have to identify the key features, and you have to identify unique manufacturing strategies to customize all those textures, okay, utilized for aerospace applications. Okay, so here the wing design, basically it is aeroelastic wing, the flapping motion, and the flapping mechanism present in the insect, it is more complicated to replicate because of the actuation, the motor, and the power to be used. So another challenging thing towards the manufacturing process is the miniaturization and the 3D printing methods to be used for manufacturing such miniaturized products with MEMS, okay, micro electromechanical systems. And another challenge, mass. Basically, if you consider the mass of these insects, it is very, very, very less, so that you have to go ahead with lightweight material. That too should exhibit the behavior of bioinspired designs. Okay. So here you can observe the wingspan of different flies. Here it is wingspan versus Reynolds number. For fruit fly, you can observe the Reynolds number is 100, and for honeybee it is around 1000, and rockmore around 6000. So the wingspan, you just see the wingspan in mm. For fruit fly, it is around 10 mm, almost 1 centimeter. So with this 10 mm wingspan, and see the weight fractions, the mass versus wingspan for one sample solution. Here there are 19 insects and their masses given. Okay, so micro robotic fly, artificial butterfly, artificial 1G ornithopter, all those things. You just see the mass, particularly you just remember the masses of 1, 5, 6, and 13. Okay, micro robotic fly, Delphi micro, 3G ornithopter, and nano hummingbird. Okay, you just see the masses here. It is around for 5, it is 10 power minus 2 to minus 3 kilogram. Okay, and for 6, it is also almost the same, and for 13, it is little bit high. It is around 10 power minus 2 kg. So with this small scale propulsion and miniaturization, researchers already successfully reproduced the bioinspired flight system. Okay, there are three different prototypes. I would like to present it now. Be utilized for pollination process, and it can be utilized for observing the health of the plants. Okay, you can capture the you can store the images of healthy plants, and you can capture the images of the existing plants from the fields, and you can compare it through advanced image processing techniques, so that it can be the defects and health of the plants can be easily identified, and the corrective measures can be taken very easily. Okay, you can advise the appropriate insecticide, fertilizers required to protect the plants in order to enhance the productivity. Okay, So there are so many things to explore. However, I would like to restrict myself with these few examples. And the potential aerodynamic applications, the flapping wing propulsion inspired by flying animals possess potential of high lift generating capability under low speed flight condition. So that it is an innovative solution for small autonomous UAVs. Okay. And these biomimetic design systems associated with flapping UAV can be classified into four key aspects: flapping mechanism, wing design, manufacturing, and systematic design. So flying mechanism almost nowadays have unique bases and controllers so that the flying mechanism can be achieved through extremely lightweight sensors and materials. Wing design also have advanced materials now. The major difficulty associated with these biomimetic design systems for insects is the manufacturing process. So we need extremely high sophisticated manufacturing methodologies and systematic design strategies to do that. And high power and high frequency are essential for the flapping wing mechanism to create sufficient lift force. So this high power and high frequency can be obtained through the integrated circuits now. Okay, so integrated chips, integrated circuits, and light wing body is also a must. That restricts the synthesis of the actuators, power sources of materials, size, or available aerodynamic forces. Therefore, the main challenge of flapping MAV design is to how to realize wing kinematics with the crucially restricted mass. So, already I have mentioned the mass is around 10 power minus 2 kg. So, with this available mass, how we can realize the flapping mechanism, wing design, and the systematic design to accomplish the uh, uh, target objective, similar to the that is biological species. Okay. Now, I would like to give one more example here. The spider-inspired wind sensor. So, the sensing and responding system in this spider here access wind sensor that allows to sense nearby airflow changes caused by the predators or prey. So basically, when the spider senses the nearby airflow changes caused by predators or prey, the electrical component, the biological nature of spider, that is like how it senses the nearby airflow changes and all those things, not yet revealed actually. But from this bio-inspired perspective, we can conclude that the self-powered wind sensors based on flexible magnetoelectric material systems could serve the purpose actually. Okay, so flexible magnetoelectric material systems can be utilized as a wind sensor, that is self-powered wind sensors that can exhibit the characteristics similar to the animal hair sensors. Okay, so the bioinspired sensors are composed of electrical and magnetic components. So the electrical components include silver nanoparticles on a thin polyethylene terephthalate PET film. Here it is. It is a PET film. Okay. Created by screen printing, which mimics the triangle shape of spider's fine hairs. Okay, so this is the spider's fine hair that is prepared with PET film. Thus, this part is flexible for sensing the wind and conductive for signal. Okay. So it is flexible and effective. So what happens is when there is flow, it bends, it can vibrate, and it is able to regain its initial original equilibrium position. So the electrical signals can be captured as output from the repaired wind sensor. Okay, so it is the magnetic component is neodymium ferrous boron, which is combined with the electrical component through a 3D printing assisted approach. This magnetic component constantly provides magnetic flux through the electrical component. Okay, so the sensor will produce a unique electrical output as the wind blows past it. And when the airflow blows, the sensor bends rapidly and generates a negative voltage. Almost it is minus 45.2 microvolt. Here it is almost minus 45.2 microvolt. Subsequently, the sensor bounces slightly due to inertia, which leads to small reverse peak. This is the reverse peak here. And then the wind blows continuously. The magnetic flux keeps consistent, and thus no clear peaks in voltage appear. Here you can observe there is no peak. After removing the airflow, the PET film returns to its original state, and positive voltage 20.3 almost is 20 microvolt occurs due to the change of relative position of the electrical and magnetic components. Okay. So particularly for measuring the airflow velocity, extreme sensitivity for 0.01 meter per second, extremely low speeds. Only for 0.1, 0.2 meter per second sensitivity level can be measured through our hardware anemometers for different internal measurements. If it goes beyond that, if you get more accuracy, then -2, -3 level, these spider repaired wind sensors can be utilized. And it precisely captures the nearby wind changes, okay, than any other existing systems. So it is going to be very much useful for various flow measurements in the context of aerospace applications. And for particularly if you are really working with this type of sensors, you can use these two articles for UG and PG level projects. Science, technology, and future of small autonomous drones, and design, aerodynamics, and autonomy of the Delphi. Okay, these two articles are very famous, and you can utilize these two articles for further research in this particular domain. And I would like to move on to the birds, how the bio-inspiration of birds can be utilized, and then it has to perform a climbing segment, then some return cruising, then again it has to come back. So prior to loitering, that is instead of landing and loitering, it has to perform a reverse mission again. So similar to that, birds also that you can see the skeleton of the wing structure of a bird. Here you can observe a shaft where it is a air-filled shaft actually, and a bob and a barbule, and there is a hook in the feather structure, and in the bone structure there is a forearm, wrist, finger. So this arrangement enables the bird to perform a morphing, particularly the different kinds of morphing. You may aware of some platform morphing, card morphing, sweep morphing for different MAV applications now. Okay, so wing morphing is an extensive subject now because bio-inspired morphing strategies evolving day by day. Even fishbone morphing is incorporated for MAV wings now by MIT researchers, Massachusetts researchers. So if you are for example, if you are able to increase the camber in the course of takeoff, your lift increases. Once you complete the takeoff mission, if you are about to perform the cruising segment, if you reduce the camber and if you have significant thickness for your wing section, what happens is your lift is retained. Be very serious. Already we are suffering with several aeroelastic phenomena like flutter, buffeting, all those problems when you are moving very close to the higher subsonic speed. That is particularly near the Mach 0.8 to 0.85. Aeroelastic problems are very serious. That's why we are nowadays using advanced materials for high subsonic speeds. So when the size of the airplane increases, if you want to accommodate more passengers, more than 500, 600 passengers in an aircraft, the wingspan goes more than 70, 75 meters. For such large airplane configurations, with the help of presently available materials, it is not possible to accomplish this kind of unique bioinspired morphing strategies as of now. Maybe after 5 years, after 10 years, the new materials, the evolvement of new mechanisms will enable this type of bioinspired morphing strategies that will enhance the efficiency of the flight to a greater extent. Okay, that is unimaginable as of now. Now, I would like to give another perspective about this aerodynamic drag reduction that can be achieved by skimmer bird beak. So the skimmer bird beak surface consists of a riblet arrangement like this. So this riblet on beaks of skimmers can be utilized to reduce the drag. It is similar to the shark skin. If you have a close look, you can observe these kind of riblets. We have observed the shark skin. So it is really it has low drag surface properties. The properties of skimmer beak and the mako shark surface can be summarized here. Here you can observe the parallel riblets at 45-degree inclination, the length 80 to 100 mm, width 5 to 15 mm, and the thickness 0.5 to 3.3 mm. And it can be compared with mako skin, that is shark skin. It is made of dermal denticles and riblets, and the length, the width, and thickness are compared here. So these are the geometric observations and a brief comparison of skimmer beak and shark surface structures. What happens is when the skimmer bird tries to catch the prey, the water flowing at an angle to the riblets. Here you can observe water flows at an angle. Once it you just see the two different postures of skimmers. Once it is opened a little bit more, these riblets are in parallel with the water direction. Okay, so water is more likely to flow along the riblets when the beak is fully extended. So what happens? It reduces the drag, and it is already proved to different computational analysis. This is and another important thing is it exhibits excellent vortices distribution. Here you can observe it is a flat surface. Typical vortices on a flat and 0-degree skimmer surface riblet. It is a flat surface. Here you can observe the vortices distribution. These vortices tend to move away from the surface. So what happens is the turbulent skin friction can be substantially reduced. So because of this riblets, the vortices distribution will be fully altered. So if you are able to prepare a ready-made riblet configuration and it can be affixed to a particular aerodynamic surface, even for a empennage section, horizontal or vertical stabilizer, you can achieve significant vortices improvement in the significant vortices distribution, so that the efficiency of flight will be improved. Okay, and you can observe the drag reduction also. 0 degree skimmer, pressure drop 5% and drag reduction 2.8%, and for Mako Shark it is pressure drop 18% and calculated drag reduction is 4.5%. That's why it is adopted for Lufthansa aviation. Okay. And for aquatic animals, it is a humpback whale flipper. Already we have done some extensive work on it, and it has excellent flow control characteristics with efficient wall shear flow patterns with efficient turbulent skin friction and all, efficient reduction in the turbulent skin friction and all. So, particularly in the pre-stall and post-stall regimes, these tubercles, this arrangement is called tubercles. These tubercles exhibit micro-sized riblets. Okay, these are called micro-sized riblets that contribute their efficient swimming motion. These riblets, which are oriented along the longitudinal axis of the shark's body, can effectively reduce the resistance of water flow over the skin surface. Okay, so here I have given 3 different illustrations. It is basically the bioinspired polydimethyl siloxane PDMS films. These PDMS films are prepared by mimicking the structure of the shark skin by a replication technique, and
Hello, sir. I think due to some network issue, the resource person have left the meeting. Kindly hold for a minute. He'll be joining back soon. Due to some network issue, the resource person have left the meeting. Kindly wait for a minute. He'll join soon. And I request the participants to post the queries. In case of any queries, you may post the queries in the chat box. He'll be joining us soon. Dear participants, the resource person has left the meeting due to some network issue. He'll be joining soon. Kindly post any queries. If there is any queries for you, kindly post it in the chat box. and the feedback link will be shared soon.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're back.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Actually, when whether it was disconnected earlier.
No, your voice is breaking, sir. I couldn't able to hear you clearly.
When actually?
We haven't disconnected you. We thought there could be some network issues in your.
Okay, when it there is can you tell me the slide when it was reconnected?
Just open the presenter.
This one. Can you see the slides?
Yeah, this one only, sir.
Yes, sir. The same slide.
This one. Okay.
Yes.
And sorry, actually, I didn't notice that. Okay. Actually, hello.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir. You can proceed.
Okay. Actually, this shark skin, it has the riblet-like arrangements. So when you have the riblet arrangement, it offers excellent super hydrophobic characteristics. And instead of focusing on one particular Bioinspired design, if you are able to combine cactus spine arrangement with this shark skin, you may have a hybrid results. Okay. So in that context, you should approach the Bioinspired designs. We should not focus on one particular Bioinspired surface and we have to customize it. So these hybrid mechanisms could yield result in a different dimension. For example, you can consider the rice leaf, you can consider cactus pine, you can consider the Humpback whale print, particularly in the case of wing configuration with the Bioinspired leading edge tubercles. That results excellent pre and post call characteristics. Here you can observe in the case of a conventional NACA profile, after the stall limit, the lift substantially decreases, and in the case of a modified profiles with Bioinspired Humpback whale flipper, here you can observe the comparatively the lift is retained, and the similar characteristics can be observed in the case of the drag polar, CD versus angle of attack, and other plots also. So if you are able to capture the flow streamline patterns and what is this pattern, you can get more information from that. Okay, how these Bioinspired designs enable the whales to catch the prey very easily, and how it is able to perform different maneuvers in a short span of time, and how it's underwater kinematic governed with this flipper configuration. Okay. So, in the presence of this flipper, if you are able to incorporate these sharp rivets, you will enable the combined advantages. Okay, so both the excellent pre and postal characteristics with super hydrophobicity. So that you are in the case of super hydrophobicity, in the sense you can understand it, it helps to achieve anti-aging properties also. Instead of using hot air from the engine to go ahead with anti-aging task, you can go ahead with these super hydrophobic surfaces to achieve the anti-aging properties. Okay, so these super hydrophobic anti-aging coatings also another research subject now. However, it is somehow complicated. The reason is the wear resistance is another challenge. Okay, so once you prepare the coating, it sustains and it exhibits the behavior for about some period of time, and it will be exhibiting excellent water repelling characteristics and all those things. But after some limited period of time, what happens is it's like what I mentioned in the beginning of the session, like lotus leaf. It loses the tendency, and what happens, the wear and other associated phenomena also occur because of aeroelastic and other problems occurring on living surfaces. So some extensive research is needed for self-healing and materials to incorporate for anti-aging properties, to achieve anti-aging properties over these living surfaces. Okay. So with this context, I have mentioned several applications and several dimensions to carry out the bioinspired research and development of bioinspired materials for various applications. And thank you again for your patient hearing and support. Any queries, sir?
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. May I now request the participants to post your queries, or you can unmute your mic and you can talk to the resource person directly. I think we have one or two questions already in the chat box, sir. If you want, I can read it out for you.
Let me check, sir. Let me check, please. Actually, I can't see the questions here. Please post it.
Okay, I'll read it, sir. From Suresh, advanced manufacturing strategies are how effective in India for biomimics technology?
Nowadays, most of the biomimetics most of the biomimetic strategies are utilizing the 3D printing only, 3D printing methodology. And what I have mentioned in the literature, there is the two-step lithography techniques. Here it is, I hope the slide number, two-step soft lithography molding procedure. It can be utilized for macroscopic biomimetic techniques.
Session to be inspiring, particularly I like the details about 3D printing. And from Karikalan C. Arrow, how can I measure the dimensions of bird's wing using modern technologies?
What are the methods there for analyzing the wing structure of birds? One question is there. First, let me answer this question first. Methods there for analyzing the wing structure of birds, in the sense it needs a basic characterization. Like, for example, if you want to analyze the wing structure of a hummingbird, then you have to collect the biological sample data, and you have to do the scaling, and how it can be replicated with the artificial man-made structure. Okay, so in that way you have to collect several samples, and you have to identify either you can go for replica molding process, or you have to identify the most suitable 3D printing strategy to model the particular wing structure. Okay, there are except 3 or 4 slides, some copyright contents are there. Except that, remaining almost I have 53 slides. Almost 48 slides I will share. Okay. To be frank, I have to mention that.
Yeah, okay, thank you, sir.
Okay,
can we drop your mail ID here, sir, so that in case if they need it, they can mail it.
Yeah, it is. I'll give it in the chat box.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of the thanks and gratitude for you to be here and presenting the wonderful session for the participants all around the country. Hope everyone found it very much informative and interesting. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the feedback is in the chat box. Hope you have found it. And the resource person's mail ID is also in the chat. In case if you need the PPT, or in case if you want to contact him for further details for your research, you are free to contact him. The contact ID is in the chat box. And for our afternoon session, we have another personality, Dr. Satish Kumar Anusuya Ponnuswamy, lecturer in aeronautics from University of London. He'll be joining us for the afternoon session. He is going to join exclusively from Manchester, UK, for us. Sorry, from London actually. He'll be joining us from London. So I request the fellow participants not to miss the session. And his session will be focusing on future of sustainable aviation, multifunctional composites, and AI-driven material design hold the key. The profile of the speaker is in the screen now. So I request the participants to join for the afternoon session around 2:30 p.m. So that's all from the morning session. We have entered the session. See you in the afternoon session. Thank you.